Hey everyone, so today I'd like to talk about air, the embouchure, and the aperture, and just a few pointers in general that I've picked up over the years. This video doesn't have to be necessarily for beginners. It can be for anyone who plays a wind instrument, because it's always good to be reminded of fundamentals if you already know about them. And I think sometimes as you get more advanced, you tend to forget about fundamentals. It just happens over time. Then you go back and get reminded, and you trust me, without fundamentals, you won't last very long, and you won't get very good. So to begin with, I'm going to talk about air, and if we're talking about air, then we have to talk about breathing. As wind players, especially brass, trombone. So the way I think about breathing is filling up my air in 3 compartments. So you got the lower, the middle, and the high. It's basically your lungs getting filled up, but you want to be as efficient as possible, pretty much. So the bottom is you fill up the bottom of the lungs. Your stomach should kind of like relax and go out as you breathe in. Then of course you get the most air in the middle, and the top is just to get that last, to top it off pretty much. They say when you breathe, your shoulders shouldn't go up because it means you're only using like your upper lungs, not your entire lungs, but I think they can move a little bit. Just not as much, basically as minimally as possible, to be really efficient with your air and your breathing. So, and then you'll notice as I breathe in, my throat's really relaxed. You don't want this really constricted form of breathing. You want to hear more of a almost nothing. Sometimes you have to take it in really fast so you hear it, but. And then you'll notice as I breathe out that I never hold my air in, because that kind of adds tension to your playing. When you start and you're breathing, if your body gets tense and your playing gets tense and you get tense, you get tired faster. Your sound is not as resonant and full and free and open as it could be. So here's me taking a breath properly. And as you can tell, this leads into the next thing, the embouchure. Actually, before I go on, another way, if you want to not think about so many technical things, is if you think about the ocean going up on the beach, you'll see the waves kind of bring up this water. The water goes up the beach and then kind of goes back down. It never stops, so it's just one motion. That's an easier way to think of breathing. But just be as efficient with your air as possible, really free. Open, relaxed, especially in the throat. So what you saw me do with the embouchure is like, I think about it as, it's kind of like blowing out a candle. And you see how it gets your corners firm. You don't want them tight, but you want them firm. If tight, again, leads to tension. You don't want them loose, otherwise you can't control anything. It's your support, pretty much. So that's how I think about the embouchure. You set it, and then just leave it, And then as you get better into your lip slurs and your flexibility and all that stuff, it gets more firm. It doesn't move as much. It'll become more developed over time. And then the final thing is the aperture. The aperture is a little hole here that opens up in the center of your lips that lets the air out. A lot of people start with the M syllable. That works fine too. I prefer using the P syllable. So you put your lips together. Don't think it's okay if I just talked about an opening here in the lips. When you put your lips together, it's not very tight. Like you're about to say P, or even M. With M, that's why I don't like using it. It keeps your lips closed. With P, it opens up. P. So when you go play, don't worry about having your lips closed at first, because when you blow your air and you take the breath and you let the air out, it opens up the little hole. properly. Blowing out the candle and saying P. Nice relaxed breath like the ocean. And then you do that when you play. We're not going to talk too much about it right now, but another big part of it is kind of hearing what you're about to play. A lot of the times I can hear E flat, so bum, 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 bum. I'll play that. If you want to talk about range, I'll talk about range for a second, but basically this is what your tongue does. You have the open syllable, it's like medium right here. O, ooh is even lower. Your jaw kind of drops a little bit too. Like here's your tongue and here's the roof of your mouth. As you get higher, ooh, ooh, you start to go more the E syllable. When you say E, the back of your tongue touches the roof of your mouth, or gets pretty close. E, and as you get like into the really high range, basically your tongue, the more of the front of your tongue hits the roof of the mouth. Oh, but you still have to allow air to pass through, so don't ever close it off fully. But it gets tighter and closer to the roof of your mouth as you get higher. I'll demonstrate this too. So let the air do all the work. Set this. Here's like a 3-step kind of thing to think about. Starting off your notes, you want to think about the ocean on the beach, in constant motion, relax, free. You want to think about blowing out the candle, and then the P. And that's it. That's like a really easy way to think about it. And I just told you about range. I'm sure a lot of you have heard it from your band directors or teachers. If you haven't, then now you know. This should really help you playing. Really get into each aspect of what I talked about today deeper than I just went through it in like 7.5 minutes. But yeah, that's basically it. If you have any comments or questions, let me know below. Thank you very much. Have a good day.